What is going on, everybody? I am back today to talk about a new release movie that when I saw the trailer for this, I was actually very interested. It looked cute and charming, but also like it had a horror edge. And I'm always really interested in movies that combine genres that way. And I was also interested in watching this because it stars Melissa Barrera, who I've really enjoyed her career thus far. I really liked her in the Scream movies. I think she's very, very talented. And so I've been really excited to see what she was going to do with her career post the Scream films. And so that made me very interested to watch this movie. And the film I'm going to be telling you about today is Your Monster. Your Monster is directed by Caroline Lindy. After her life falls apart, soft-spoken actress Laura Franco finds her voice again when she meets a terrifying yet weirdly charming monster living in her closet. So, like I said, I was really excited to watch this movie, didn't know what I was going to think about it, and I really enjoyed this quite a bit. I'm honestly surprised at how much I liked this movie, and I actually think that it's a movie that the more I watch it with time, that I'll just grow to appreciate it more. Not only do I think it does a really nice job kind of juggling genres, but it's also very thought-provoking and very moving dramatically, and I think the way that it handles its subject matter and where it goes in the third act, I was not expecting it whatsoever how they were going to end the movie. And I compliment the director a lot for taking such a big risk to end the movie the way that she did. But I think it makes you think for a very long time after it's over. And that's what I loved about this movie. And I'm really excited to tell you about it today. So at the beginning of the movie, we are introduced to Laura, played by Melissa Barrera, who lives in New York City with her boyfriend Jacob, and the two of them work on musicals together for Broadway. And Jacob is currently writing and working on a musical that is technically based on her life. And so the two of them, they're working on music together, they're writing the music together. And Laura goes to the hospital and finds out that she has cancer and that she immediately needs to start going in and getting treatments for it. And the treatments are incredibly grueling, and she's spending a ton of time at the hospital, and it's preventing her from pursuing her career, and she's really having a hard time. And one day, Jacob just gets fed up and leaves. He tells her he can't handle it anymore. He can't deal with that and his career, and he literally walks out on her while she's in her hospital bed. So some time passes, and the hospital eventually tells her that she's good enough to go home and continue taking her medications, coming back in for blood work and all of those things. So she ends up going back to her parents' house in New York, and she goes in there, and we are introduced to her friend that's kind of a friend. She's a little bit flaky. She seems like she just wants to be around for conversation and immediately just takes off whenever it's convenient for her. Well, otherwise, Laura is alone, and she's crying in her apartment a lot. She's going through a ton emotionally, and one night she noise in her closet, and she goes in there and she's introduced to Monster, and Monster is played by Tommy Dewey, and he immediately comes out and starts delivering this absolutely hysterical dialogue. He's very unserious, which I really appreciated that direction. And he's like, I live here now. This isn't your house. You're so mopey and whiny and annoying. Leave. And the two of them start getting into arguments, and they finally come to an agreement that they're going to continue to live together. And the entirety of the film is Laura's character decides to go back to Broadway to try to work on the musical that her boyfriend created that she was supposed to be the star in, while simultaneously living at home with this monster. So like I said, I really enjoyed this movie a lot more than I thought that I would, and that's for several reasons. For starters, Melissa Barrera is awesome in this movie. I really appreciated her performance a lot. Whenever you're playing a character that's going through something as serious as cancer, you have to make it feel realistic. I've been around a ton of family members in my life that have struggled with cancer. And the thing is, just because you're dealing with cancer doesn't mean you're like dour and depressed all the time. You're constantly thinking about the worst case scenario, but you're also trying to live, and it's a delicate balance. And what I really like about Melissa Barrera's performance in this movie is early on, she is very shell-shocked and she's struggling really hard with dealing with this idea of living with cancer. But as the movie goes on, she tries to live her life. And I really love the lighthearted moments mixed in with a lot of the more dramatic and serious moments. And I think the director does a really nice job handling that material. Tommy Dewey, who plays Monster, is fantastic. I loved his performance. I don't know much about him as an actor, but I think that he just brought so much charisma to the screen. Like, there are so many one-liners that he had in this movie that I was just cracking up laughing. I just really appreciated his comedic performance, and I think that his chemistry with Melissa Barrera is really great. Anytime they would like go back and forth or have arguments, it was just really well done. It was shot really well, and they really ate up the screen together. And everyone in this movie gives a really solid performance. I love the practical effects of the monster and the way he looks. He's kind of like Beast from Beauty and the Beast, but a little bit different in the way that he's presented. I love this idea that he's like living in the closet and like under the bed, but he just kind of acts like a normal guy. And I love the way that he would just talk regularly and then break into like the way he would eat food, or he'd just like bite off the corner of a glass bottle. I love that little attention to detail. It just really makes it so much more of an immersive world that's easy to immerse yourself into. Plot moves along really well. There's a couple of moments that feel a little bit repetitive, but I do think overall the movie still sticks the landing. And what I really enjoy about this movie is it's tackling a few different things. For starters, obviously living with cancer, which is so difficult and it's so hard, and then being in a relationship with someone who's going through something as severe as cancer. I just talked about the film Magpie recently with starring Daisy Ridley, and talked about kind of relationships in general, and how like what's so important in a relationship is understanding your partner's needs and wants for life. And what's so interesting about this movie is that idea kind of transitions into this review and what I'm talking about, because the man in this relationship, he is so self-involved that when his partner gets this horrible news that is completely and totally taking over her life, because it's intruding on him, he decides that he has to leave. And when she starts to go home, she still feels like that she has feelings for him, but can't understand why he would just take off. And it's truly heartbreaking to think that someone would just abandon someone else going through that. And I know that that's something that happens pretty regularly, that people that just can't deal with illnesses like this will do things of that nature. And I just was blown away by this type of movie, and with it being such like an overt comedy with some horror elements, that they were able to tackle subject matter that I thought was really thought-provoking and handled in a way that I think is overall successful. I'm curious to what people will think about the third act, because I never in a million years would have guessed that that's how they would end this movie, especially with like the tone of the film moving forward, like just where it went. I was really kind of surprised, but I'm glad. I love directors that take a swing and try to do something that'll leave a lasting impact. And I won't stop thinking about the ending of this movie for a while. And I think it's incredibly symbolic of what the movie is going for, as far as like what the monster represents and the feelings that the monster represents in comparison to the feelings that Laura is having. And I love the contrast between those. And I just thought this movie was an incredibly joyful experience. I laughed a lot. It almost moved me to tears a couple of times. And I think if you're a horror fan or a romantic comedy fan, you're going to find something to enjoy with Your Monster. So have you seen Your Monster? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was really well done, and the more I think about it, the more I enjoy it. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot and lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.